Welcome to the Awe and Wonder podcast, and I am so excited for this episode because I had the just privilege of interviewing 3 of my people here in Arizona that are exposed to some AI options in their academics. And so we interviewed Gena's dad, Alyssa and her mom, and Trinity and her speech pathologist. So listen into these conversations and see how it's being used and how we're challenging current mindsets and kind of blowing the top off of the possibilities here of using AI in AAC.
Yes. And who better to listen to than teenagers using it themselves? I love this conversation.
Exactly. First of all, this is Alyssa and her mom, Elizabeth. And Alyssa is on an Accent 1400 with 84 buttons. And I have to show you guys at some point that she can program her own buttons. I have a video of how you're programming your buttons to say all the things. So anyways, amazing girl. You are 15 and you are a sophomore? Yes. And so you are doing some writing assignments, and we got to talking about, first of all, how much is expected for you to write and what that looks like at home. Mm-hmm. So it's a ton of work for you. Is that right? Mm-hmm. What does it look like?
A lot of asking questions and basically yes or no answers mm-hmm. from Alyssa to help guide her. Mm-hmm. We had a paper that she had to do that was Romeo and Juliet, and we had to come up with a story, and it was really limiting to mine and Dad's imagination for scenarios to come up with for her.
Because the assignment was like a modern day reason to have a family feud or something like that?
Mm-hmm, okay. The reason why they could have been feuding.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And so you were coming up with, I don't know your age, so I'm going to go with an over 35 year old person's ideas, and she wasn't having it. She wasn't having it, right?
I mean, she probably would have preferred a different story, but we were limited on what our ideas were.
Right.
And I'm not a creative writer. So it's hard for me to do my own, let alone help somebody else with theirs.
What I know about Alyssa is once she knows what she wants to say, she doesn't budge on it. And I love it. I mean, I remember we were typing something and we were saying like I spent all weekend, and she said I spent all day. And I was like, oh, you can say day. No, it's got to be weekend. Like once she gets something in her head, that's the word she wants. She's not gonna change it. So when she's got an idea in her head and you're not coming up with it, you're getting a lot of no's, right? No.
And then she starts to express a little bit of frustration.
Sure.
Because it's not her thought that's coming out, and I can't pick up what she is trying to tell me.
Right. So there's a couple things here. One is that Alyssa has to give you more information than yes and no. And we've talked about that in therapy, just like, okay, it's your job to give us some more information. The other is though, that it has now become your job to guess right? Mm-hmm. And so at the end of the whole writing, you feel like you had a co-authorship, you wrote it with her, but you don't feel necessarily confident that these were all exactly what she wanted to say.
No. Because as the story went on, it was taking a long time. Mm-hmm. And then with that, becoming frustrated mm-hmm. and just kind of starting to give up because it's just been a long process trying to get the story. Yeah. So, I mean, we didn't have any other idea.
So what do you think about some of the AI features that we've been using?
Good.
You like it? It's good. Good is what she said. It's been good. You came home and from California all summer, and we were talking about, what you enjoy doing in the summer, and it was about walking on the beach in California, which to the listeners, Alyssa's in a wheelchair. And if you're only listening to the podcast and you don't see her, she's in a wheelchair. So yes, you heard me right. She walked on the beach, which was super exciting. And so we let the AI kind of take the words that you gave me and create a sentence and use similar words and expand the vocabulary. And then, you shook your head that the waves didn't crash on the rocks because that's what the AI came up with. And you told me it was sand. So do you remember this from last week? Yeah. So it was a way for you to tell a more complete sentence instead of I walk on the beach in California, which was true, but boring. Right? Yeah. So what did you think when you were watching us come up with using the AI in that way of generating a sentence and letting her get creative on how it was said?
So I feel like she's really limited on how she responds. So if she's going to tell you something that she did, she'll say a couple words on her talker, and then the rest of it is just you asking her questions to try and find out more of what happened. So if you know what a beach is, you're going to say oh, was it sandy? Was it rocky? You're going to ask all these questions. But since she had these ideas already populating, then it gave her a place to go with her conversation and not just a simple answer.
She wasn't dependent on me coming up with the right descriptor. There were 6 different descriptive length sentences there that she was like, I like this one and I like that one, and we picked pieces from those. Yeah, I think you're right. So that's the thing about the AI is it's pulling examples from a large language sample. So it's not just pulling examples from my head and I only have been to so many beaches and I only have so much experience. When I think about Alyssa doing a writing assignment in school, that there might be different topics like Romeo and Juliet. And if the paraeducator doesn't know a lot about it, you don't know a lot about it, she's pretty limited to her communication partner's understanding of the topic that she's writing about.
Yes.
Yes. And do you always feel qualified?
No. I'm Romeo and Juliet. Honestly, I don't even think I had to read that in high school.
Right.
So I know the gist of it, but not enough to be okay, let's go ahead and start writing a paper about it.
Right.
Thankfully, her assignment was more just come up with a random idea, and it didn't have to hold true to the story. So that helped us, but still that left it wide open for options and again, limited to what we could come up with.
Right. When we put it into AI, it was there were owners of a bagel shop that got into a dispute. And I think there was another one that was 2 girls fighting over a boy. Or is that what you ended up writing about?
We ended up writing about the 2 boys fighting over a girl. They started fighting because of a girl.
Oh. The families who's fighting. Yeah.
I mean, but
yeah.
And there's so many other possibilities, and we were just so limited because we had to think about well, what happened? How did the argument start? What was said? All these things, and there's a lot of pieces to it.
Yeah, yeah.
And all limited to what we can come up with, and for her to yes or no, she didn't like that part.
How often at school are they saying we didn't finish the writing? Can you finish it at home?
So last year we only had pretty much that one writing assignment that we had to do at home. This year just started a few weeks ago, so we haven't had English assignments or science or social studies yet to do at home. We have only been graced with math to do at home. So. But this works for that too. Not the AI, but I mean the talker. So that's good.
So what do you think? What do you like best about the AI features, Alyssa?
Good.
No,
I know. I heard
no.
you.
What do you think of them? But
what do you like about it?
yeah, we like about it.
help me in class. Help me in class.
It helps you in class. So that's what we need to do next is train the school on how to do it in class. Because right now they're not using the AI features yet. The AI features are not embedded in Unity. It's a grid from grid 3, but even if you don't have grid 3, it's chat GPT, it's whatever you want it to be, right? So it's a lot, it's whatever AI you want to do, right? Will allow you to not be limited by the knowledge of the person that's working with you, you know? Yeah. So you want it to help you in class. Do you like that it comes up with sentences? Do you like that it comes up with words, similar
Yes.
words? Yes.
Sentence.
Yes,
The
for
sentences is what you're liking, because constructing a long sentence using eye gaze is a lot of work. We changed some vocabulary though, because I know there was a sentence that you liked that said strolled, and no offense to you, but you are not strolling, girl, you're walking. You know what I'm saying? You're walking, and you wanted to call it walking. So I remember you picked that sentence, and then we broke the sentence apart, and you were like, I strolled along the beach, and you said no. I know you went along the beach though, so I'm like, oh, so we're not liking strolled. So we did find similar words, and walked was one of them. You're like, no, I leave it at walk. I walked, or I walked along the beach, right? And then there was like the wind and the smell of the ocean and the crash of the waves and things like that. And so you got to pick some of the words, but some of the words like that aren't in your talker. Even SeaWorld that you're telling me about isn't in your talker. So you have to find a way to tell me sea and world, right? A lot of times there's not the exact word in your talker. You're having to use kind of describe the word you're talking about or get creative around the word you're talking about, which is a ton of work too. When you get sent home with homework after she's already had a 6 or 8 hour day, depending
that happened this week.
Okay, tell me about it.
It didn't happen. Her eyes and her brain, she just says it's tired after like a long day. So we're gonna work on her homework this weekend. So fortunately her teachers understand that it's like we just had a meeting with them last week, and they see what goes into her having to select things on her talker and how to do her classwork. So they understand that it's a lot more intense for her to have to do it than an average person not using eye gaze, right?
Right.
And so they're a little bit more flexible on the due date. They'll allow us to have a weekend in there so that we can have a day that she hasn't been at school all day.
Right.
And then have to go home and do the assignment.
Are the length of the assignments adjusted for the time frame it takes for her to do it?
I will say yes. She tries to complete as much as she can in class. Yeah. So I would say yes, that we just have to, a lot of her teachers said that, for instance, in math, that it's just to make sure she understands the concept, not bury her in work.
She doesn't have to do all 20 of the
yes, she just has to
problems. She has to prove that she understands the concept. Okay, so there's some accommodations that are already there.
Yes.
Okay. What do you think is going to be the best thing about using AI on your AAC? Do you think it's going to be, I don't want to give you choices just yet. I'm going to see what you say.
Language arts.
It's going to help you the most in language arts, for sure. I think so too, because it's a language activity. Do you think it's going to help you say what you really meant to say? Do you think it's going to help you just do the assignment faster? Do you think it's going to, I don't know, give you words that aren't in your talker? What are some of the other ways? Fast. You think it's going to be faster? And that's important.
So with the AI, she can give it a couple of words to
Uh-huh.
work with, and then it will come up with a longer sentence for her,
Yeah.
so she doesn't have to spend the time
Oh,
entering every single word.
yeah, that's right. And so it's way faster.
I think like it'll benefit us to have it this year, so that we can see like how her writing assignments go.
Yeah.
Since it was challenging last year.
For sure.
Alyssa, being in a wheelchair, already seems that she is talked down to in regards to her age. She's 15 years old, but people being very nice, they don't mean to do it. It's just that they talk to her like she's a little kid, like she's 8.
Yeah.
But her mind, I mean, she's 15.
Right.
She's not delayed. She doesn't have the vocabulary on her talker to come across sometimes like a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
She just says a few words, and then I feel that people get the idea that that's how she thinks. It's just those few words that she's putting on her talker and not like in a complete sentence. But if she can
Right.
throw those few words into the AI and it can generate a more age appropriate sentence, then I feel like she'll be able to express herself more completely, and people will understand that she is 15,
Right.
age appropriate.
So using the AI created a more robust sentence,
Mhm.
but it also was more age appropriate. And so it matches her intellect.
Yes.
And so it projects her more accurately than I walk California beach.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yes.
Because that people are saying, "Hi, Alyssa," like you can't hear. "How are you?" or something like that. And then the fastest thing for you to do is to say fine, which is not demonstrating the intellect level. Whereas if AI has come up with, "Girl, let me tell you about my night," right? That's not in here.
Right.
And it doesn't have the inflection, it doesn't have the spice to it. One of the features that we can use on the AI prompt is to respond like a teenager. So what are your thoughts?
I loved hearing from Alyssa and her mom. I hadn't thought about how AI helps with or can help with the idea of like sounding more age appropriate, right? I love that idea. I never really thought about like, yes, all those words are not on her talker, right? She has to describe a lot of words, but also that it's expanding her sentence, like to get all SLP, right? Her mean length of utterance or whatever, the amount of words she's saying, but also like it's going to say things that just sound cool or right for a 15-year-old.
So later in that same session, after that conversation, she wanted to put in the word rad
Mm.
into and say similar words in a teen. It said it's expand and expand with a teenage voice. And so it came up with "that's so lit" and it's the bomb and all this kind of stuff. And what she ended up doing is, and I have video of this,
Mhm.
she ended up grabbing each statement, copying it, going onto her Unity, hitting the button and saying paste, grab, paste,
So
copy,
smart.
paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. And so she had like 4 really quick, socially appropriate sentences
Yeah,
that were now in her device that she generated using the AI.
right,
And then she will use it as she sees fit, but she doesn't have to take the time to come up with it and then edit it and type it all out and spell it all out and
right.
backspace and all the things it takes when you miss hit on an eye gaze. So that copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, she just now
That's
she
so
has
cool.
all these great statements. So it was a really
Well,
nice application of how that can increase the efficiency of her participating in age appropriate social language kind of stuff.
yeah, and that the choices that came up, she actually liked, right? So
Right.
walk me through that. So what exactly does it look like? And how does it work? So she's got the AI on her device. You said she has Unity, but she's using a grid. Um,
Yeah, so and I have Grid and so I'm using some AI stuff, but I told the parents you don't need Grid. You can use ChatGPT, you can use whatever Gemini, whatever you want to use. So what you're doing is so we just did an assignment and she has to
tweet like she's Alexander Hamilton.
Oh, fun.
And it says you can use ChatGPT because they know you have to put in the right information to ChatGPT for it to
Right.
come out.
You have to have a
So
good
she
prompt.
she picked that she wanted to do a law, talk about the equitability of the state. We put, make a tweet written from Alexander Hamilton about equitability among the states, and it came up with ones. And so when it came
Wait,
up with ones,
are you doing this on her device or on the computer?
I'm doing it on a grid in Smartbox that is being
Okay.
piloted right now. And so the prompt is to come up with four responses. So it
Okay.
came up with one that she liked. And then I said, "Do you want me to say it like a teenager?" Even though Alexander wasn't a teenager, she still just wanted to hear what those would say. So I
Hmm.
brought up those. And then I did one of these. Like I read her each prompt because I was doing a Zoom. She can read.
Hmm.
But because I was doing it on Zoom, I read her each prompt and she picked number two. And so then I read number two again, and we changed some words within that one, right?
Hmm.
Then the next prompt she wanted to do something about his friends. So we looked up friends, and she said bowling alley, and we made ChatGPT make a picture of Alexander Hamilton, George Washington, Aaron Burr, and somebody else. And so she picked her picture. And then she picked her hashtags, and then she said barber or hair salon. So we
Hmm.
did a next one, and then now there's the picture of Alexander Hamilton, George Washington with like they're like they're in the bar, their hair getting done. And
That's so
so
cool.
she writes hashtag looking pretty, and I was like,
Mhm.
okay, I'll add that hashtag. So this is a case where she's in all general ed classes, by the way,
Mhm.
and they are allowed to use ChatGPT. They want you to use them, but you still have to have enough information about Alexander Hamilton to know who were his friends.
Right.
What were the laws? In order to prompt ChatGPT to come up with something, or if you're not using ChatGPT and you're writing your own, you have to know
Hmm.
enough to get those prompts. So usually I'm having ChatGPT give me choices or whatever your AI is, give me choices.
Hmm.
I'm having to pick a choice. Sometimes she'll do two and three, and I'll say, okay, what part of two do you like? What part of three do you like? And so you can see how there's a co-authorship here where
Hmm.
she really is at the end of the day feeling like it's something that is very much matching what was in her head.
Yeah, and like you and her mom both said in that clip, it's not limited to what her mom knows about Hamilton or her parent educator, right? Or you.
Right.
Yeah, I
Right.
love that. Um, I also love that is giving her independence. That really is that it's not just
Mm.
that the ideas aren't limited, it's that she, like you said, it's she feels like this is her. This is her writing and what she wants to say.
Yeah.
What does the AI look like on her device when she's writing a sentence? She said she likes that it gives her more words.
So I think we talked about it. It was like I said, what was your favorite part about the summer? And she's like, walking beach, California.
Yeah.
Because then she knows you are going to fill in the rest of it and it's going to keep the
Hmm.
conversation going.
Hmm.
So honestly, she has the social skills to realize that if she makes this a complete sentence, I walked on the beach in California. It was so fun. The waves, this. I mean, that would take her
Hmm.
an hour.
Hmm.
So she's giving you the gist, but she's really very much um, shortening everything she has to say. She has a lot to say about her trip and walking,
Yeah. Yeah.
and she knows she doesn't. The social interaction's more important to her than how she comes across, and
That's
so
really pretty like smart. That's
yes, it's
yeah.
smart, but it means, like the mom is saying, the problem with that is that it makes people think that she has very rudimentary language, that she
Hmm.
thinks in I Walk Beach, California. And that is
Right.
not the way she thinks at all. It's just that's the fastest way she can express it and keep the
Right.
conversation going. And so it's interesting when we think about people who are worried that AI might take away voice, when actually AAC itself and the nature of eye gaze takes away a lot of the voice
Hmm.
because of the rate, right?
True.
the rate enhancement alone is something that I think is what she said. I said, "What's the biggest deal for you?" And she said, "Fast."
Yeah.
And
So,
being able to say this stuff faster.
right. So she has those 3 words, let's say, to describe. So
Yep.
then what is her device prompting? What does it look
So
like?
then I can go into the prompt on the button and say expand and reword. And I can tell them it with, in 25 words or less, in 50 words or less, in 50 words or more, however many words you want it to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can put it because that you can put it, you might be able to put grade level, you might be able to put, but I would say, I sometimes say teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And so that there's a little bit more conversational, like I gotta go
Right.
comes out.
Right.
Right. I got,
Because, yeah.
instead of, yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and we talk a lot about we wouldn't necessarily say how a teenager would say it in a written language assignment for your social studies class,
Mm-hmm.
but this is something, a sentence that you want to have pre-programmed on your device when you get back to school to tell people about your summer. We
Yeah.
want AI to generate ways to say this from a teenager's point of view, so
Mm-hmm.
you match peers. And so even then, we're not done. Even then, it's a word for a word. Do you like this phrase? Do you like that phrase? Do you want to change this word? And so I'm making sure that by the end of it all, she feels very much the author of that
Right.
sentence.
And she'll start to do that more as she
Mhm.
learns to use it. That's awesome.
Absolutely. So this is Trinity Rogers and Kate Oeser. She is a recently 14-year-old girl starting high school. And Kate is her speech therapist. How long have you been seeing Trinity?
Oh my gosh, I want to say probably since she was like 14. 14. She's
Oh, you're
done.
14. Thank you.
We're good. Probably since you were like 8, maybe I want to say.
So 5 or 6 years.
Since you were 8 or 9, yeah. Since you were 8 or 9, that's what we think. It's been a long time.
And if you are watching this on YouTube, she has an eye gaze grid pad on her device that's in the distance here. It's just hard to catch it all in one screen. So just so you know, that is what she is using during this interview. So she is on Word Power 60 with eye gaze, right?
Correct. That's the primary one that she's using. Yeah.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about how you are an amazing speech therapist, by the way, and you do great work with all of your kids. And there's a literacy focus that I love about your treatment at all times. So how are you generating authentic communication and in written language with her now, prior to the AI component being added to her device?
I think one of Trinity's strengths is that she's always coming with something to talk about, like a topic of what's in her life, what's going, like she just heard noises out there and said, it's her nephew out there. So she there's always something that she's bringing to talk about, and often use that as a jumping off point for working on our conversational skills, and then we bridge that into some writing. So when we work on our writing, if she wanted to talk about, a friend at school has a birthday, then for our session that day, maybe we're working on writing her a birthday card. So Nyela's birthday was today. Yes, it was, right? That's why that example came to mind. And so often we're using all the topics that she's already bringing into our session, and then incorporating the written component, which often is more of a co-writing situation.
Sure, that's that co-authorship that almost all of our AAC users are using. And so what does that look like?
A lot of times it has often looked like me maybe starting a sentence to get her going on the beginning or talking about and she'll tell me if she doesn't want to start that way, but I try to give her a jumping off point, or saying, hey, if you're writing a card or if you're writing a nice letter, how do we start that? So teaching components and structure of things to get her started. And then she will often add in more of the keywords or the key component words of a sentence. And I'm helping fill in some of the grammatical structures, how we transition between ideas. How do we add? We need to make Brittany a birthday card. Am I giving you ideas now? Yeah. Okay, we'll do that. How we just overall get most of our ideas down together. And I really feel like I kind of just help put in the glue in between everything because she has the big concepts of what she wants to say, how she wants to say it, but that component of syntax and grammar and really putting it all together is still a work in progress. And so I kind of as that part.
And then if she doesn't have a word in her device or she's trying to come up with something and you don't know, are you kind of going, is it this? Is it that? Is there a yes, no component to some of this? Or is it pick one of these three things? What does that look like?
Totally. So if there's something where often she's excellent with yes and no questions using that mostly vocally. We would have yes and no in her device, but she does it vocally and with kind of her gaze shift, she has multiple options to do that. So we will go to yes and no if I can tell, like, is it in your device? And she'll say no. Like she knows her device so well that I'll ask her. And if she says no, then I might start to come up with some of the options that I can think of for that describing word or that item. If not, we have some of those other abilities of like using A to Z for a couple different things, actions describe, but the literacy aspect is also still a goal for us. So it's not always the most consistent way for her to get to her words. So the yes and no is our most consistent and accurate way, but also limiting in itself too.
Right, because you have to come up with the right yes no question, right? You have to come up with the right. Yes. It means you have to have all the right ideas. You had written a Mother's Day card with Trinity, and it was lovely. And I don't remember all the components of it, but it was pretty straightforward things she liked about her mom.
Yeah.
Then we added some of the AI features. So talk about what the AI features were that you tried and kind of how that changed the writing.
It was quite hilarious, honestly, because that's the best part is that I would never come up with some of the things that she says. But do you remember the one word that we kept saying was the like big describer of mom? Do you remember what it was though? What we said mom is, do you remember what we said? Loud. Yeah.
Loud.
So she said, so we used some describing words and she did great coming up with a couple. And so we kind of went through our normal process of creating that. And then I think when we met with you, right? When we did the AI version of it. And it was interesting because when we wrote in mom is loud, there were a lot of really interesting different spins on that. Like mom always has a lot of excitement in her voice, or mom is super excitable. Like it just gave,
there was like mom is the life of the party, or mom is stressed out. And it was kind of like a lot, like 4 to 6 different descriptions of why would a mom be loud? It was very fascinating. And then she picked one that was like, something about mom is easily excited and she sticks out in a crowd. And it was kind of a super fun way to talk about her mom being loud. Very, very accurate, by the way, if you know her mom, who is so fun. And she was laughing loud in the background of that session.
It was nice because Trin was able to listen to all of the options that presented and see if that really resonated with what had been in her thought process, and if it was, moved on. So it was nice to have the exposure to a different sentence structure, a different vocabulary, a different way of saying things so that we can keep expanding on all of those.
But I mean, I remember in that session, I was saying, so let's try to use ChatGPT. And there was a component of you were like, well, I mean, the internet doesn't know her mom. right? Right? Like you're not asking Google to tell me about Trinity's mom.
Mhm.
But then you realize, oh wait, we're still coming up with the content. But the prompt for the large language prompt was, to expand the possibilities of this sentence. And I think we said in 25 words or less, or something like that. Like we gave it parameters. So it
Mhm.
was an expanded sentence. And I think the prompting is really critical when it comes to using this with them, because if you said 4 words, it would say mom is really loud or something, right? But if you allow it to expand, then it really does expand. And I
Yeah.
think too, there was if I remember right, there was another AI potential was to find synonyms for, and I don't know if we did that with loud or other words.
I I feel like we did it with loud because I remember like boisterous and like some other words that are not common or found in her talker like were coming up, and so those were good ones to just talk about. Like, oh, we don't hear this word a lot, but this kind of is what you're talking about, and
And she also knew some of those words like boisterous, and because she'd heard it before, but it's not in her device. And even if she were to go to be, you necessarily not would weren't going to guess that,
yeah, not
right?
use that frequently, so that kind of takes it out of the ball game if she's just relying on me to give her some options to cycle through.
And I think that that's what we need to think about when we think about present levels of performance, because the present level of performance for our kids with complex bodies, especially alternative access and AAC, they're already co-authoring with the person who is assisting, and they are dependent on the co-author to have
Mhm.
the words in their head.
Yeah.
And they don't always, that's impossible. And somehow
Well,
we're okay with that, and that's not cheating. But the minute we ask the internet, it's cheating. What do you think about that?
well, I think it's interesting that you said when you talk about present levels because really the present level has limitations
Yeah.
but they have accessible to them. So dependent on the tool, your present level can actually change. So I feel like that's a very important distinguishing aspect when you're talking about my present level when provided XYZ is this versus if I don't have access to these things, it's going to look significantly different and limit a lot of what I can communicate. And that in every setting you are going to have access to different things, so you're going to be shifting and changing how you're communicating in those different settings, what's accessible, and while you're walking down the aisle at the store, all of that. So I think it's really interesting that you talked about the present levels because I feel like those are fluid.
Yeah, I think you're right in the sense that given access to her communication device, her present level is one thing. Given access to communication devices with AI expansion features and maybe appropriate prompts for her age, grade, and level of language development, she can do the following. Given no access to a large language system or a robust language system, she can make a choice from a field of three. She can answer a yes, no question. So the present level is fluid based on what is the co-authorship reality here and what are the tools that she's allowed to use in any given setting.
Exactly. And I think that's such a good like way to advocate for the increase of use of tools in AI, because if I can change my present level to be functioning at a more complex, robust level, why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we make that adaptation to the present level to provide those tools so that they're functioning at that level, or they're able to get instruction at that level or write at that level. So yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah. I remember asking mom, well, what are Trinity's writing goals in the IEP? And she was like, well, I mean, she can't write with her hands, so we haven't had a writing goal in a while.
Yeah.
And to me, that was shocking, but I totally understand, that mom's like, oh, yeah, you're right. She can't write with her hands. But I think the other thing is that parents probably need to be educated in the how to advocate for writing goals that make sense, not tracing, or in her case, hand over hand tracing, which would just be compliance at best, passivity at worst is the writing goal that she'll trace her name or something like that. And I say that with all loving respect because I do think writing goals are written for lots of reasons, meaning sometimes the occupational therapist is writing a goal because they really are working on those fine motor skills.
Totally.
The reality is that that is not the extent of writing, is handwriting.
100%. I think that that's on us to do that education of what can writing look like for your child, because
Yeah.
it doesn't look traditional, but that's okay. It doesn't mean that they don't have longer ideas and stories and narratives to share. So
For sure. Well, so what would you say to people who are like, no, I don't want to use it. It's not her authentic voice if the AI is coming up with it.
I think that that can be true if you're not doing it right. But
Exactly.
if you're doing it right, then it absolutely is a tool and it's not the answer.
Yeah.
So I think that can be the distinguishing point sometimes of we can use it as an extremely helpful tool. Like we use autocorrect and we use Google and we search and we go for all those things. And knowing how to display her authentic voice, but just amplify it a little bit to expose her to new vocabulary and new concepts and made you hungry now, huh? New word structures and all of those things. I think that's when we're doing it correctly. That's when we're getting it right, where we're just finding a way to expand her voice and not replace it.
And I think it basically we're saying that we're asking our AAC users to use AI the way the rest of us do. And that when we ask ChatGPT to do something, we have to use critical judgment. Did they even answer this in a way that I meant, or did I ask the wrong question? Do I need to change my prompt? Is what that is. And then do I like those words? And is that what I felt? That what we are having them do using the AI components is critically analyze a sentence. And is this what you meant to say? And are these the words you wanted? And is there a word you want to change? And what if we all did that with our writing? And wouldn't we all be better writers? And wouldn't we all also have more vocabulary exposure? Because there's so many words that will never be in the device that are the just right fit, boisterous, for example, for the assignment. So I think you're right. I think it's the tool, it's not the answer. And the effectiveness of the tool is 100% dependent on the skills of the communication partner and facilitator of the tool.
And even, I mean, it just like when we use word prediction and we focus on using spelling and word prediction, that in itself is a skill that she's had to learn of like, okay, if I go say this word, oh, wait, that was the wrong T word from that list. To now problem solve, okay, that wasn't the correct letter. I need to backspace. So it's very similar processing and problem solving, but you're now using it with whole words or phrases versus just going from a letter to like a autocorrect or a word prediction. And so that process she's very familiar with from practicing spelling, using all of the literacy skills she has so far, and then using the adaptive feature of word prediction.
Right.
Fill that in. So I think it's just kind of like a bigger, more expanded, more accessible version of that, honestly.
Definitely.
Well, I can tell Trinity has probably a lot to say. She's super cute. Wanted to make sure we knew how old she was.
Well, I got to tell you, I had to edit out. She was like telling me about the Cheesecake Factory and just so many things during that interview. I was like,
I could
okay,
tell.
I love all this stuff, but I'm going to have to clip it because we have so much content to get in. But she is so much fun, great personality. And like Kate said, she walks in as a speech therapist. She doesn't have a plan because Trinity already knows, I want to talk about this. I want to figure out how to talk about it. I want to put some more things in my device around this topic because this
Yeah.
is what's happening right now. Her friend had a birthday and different things. So she's always coming with the content and needing the instruction on how do I expand the language around this
I
using my
love
device.
that. Well, and that Kate goes with it, right? Like that's
Yes.
what a good SLP does. Um,
Yes.
I also love how you and Kate were framing the support of the AI. Like given this support, like we do with everything else, right? Given
Mhm.
this many choices or giving access to AAC device. I
Mhm.
think that was really helpful to think about it that way for the IEP.
For sure. I think you need to say, given this tool and these support systems, this is the present level, and given that tool and this support system, this is our goal.
Yeah, yeah. And then just like Kate said, that the present levels do kind of shift depending on the tools that are available. So how exciting that AI is just becoming one more tool
Exactly.
and support available for students.
For sure. So, welcome to Josh, and he is Jenna's dad. And Jenna is an AAC user that's using, she has a grid pad with eye gaze. And we have had an interesting little journey with your school team in letting the school team kind of get educated and helping the team get on board with using some of the AI features that are embedded with her AAC. When I got involved, I believe the district had already said no, that she couldn't use all the features. Back us up and start us at the beginning.
Yeah, so the school that she goes to has a very strong uh, blanket for all the students. No AI is allowed to be able to use. And I think that's mainly because, well, students, if they're allowed to cheat, they will.
Sure.
And the teachers want the students to write and learn and not have AI do it for them.
Sure.
So I understand that. But when we brought up, like, hey, what if Jenna can use AI so she could turn in more complete sets of work?
Mm-hmm.
It was just kind of like, oh, AI, they will not let you use AI.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so we just kind of gave up on that because it was a very no.
Right.
That's the only answer we were getting.
And
Okay.
that's an interesting thing because word prediction, so like when you type on your phone or when you type on the computer and words come up and you pick something from the words to help with your spelling, that's AI. So
Mhm.
what I wondered too, and I didn't see the blanket statement in writing, is even what they were defining as AI features, because some of the features are being used all the time by students who are creating any written work, and
Yeah.
um, and that was legal, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I think what we determined too was um, we got down to the nitty gritty by saying what if we talk about what we're measuring? So, for example, with word prediction, if we're in a spelling test, obviously kids aren't using word prediction. We're
Yeah.
testing their spelling.
Yeah.
What if we're not in a spelling test, which is most of the time?
Mhm.
Um, so can we use word prediction? The answer is yes, because we're not measuring spelling. So we use kind of what we've already established in technology, where if it's not something we're testing you on, you can use the feature to rate enhance, right? Make
Yeah.
it faster. And I think that's the biggest concern with all of our students, but especially your high school student, is being able to respond quickly enough to be socially relevant.
Yeah. And it also, if we're talking about uh responding quick enough, like poor Jenna, she for years when other kids are doing book reports or writing assignments, like hers, she's so brilliant, she's so smart,
Yeah.
she's at grade level, But when it comes to English, because it's so opinionative and subjective on what your thoughts are on a topic, it's not like math where it's like 1 + 1 is 2,
Right.
definite answers. It takes a lot of going back and forth, like, hey, what do you think? Do you think it's this? Do you think it's that? So one of two things happens. Either Gena turns in like 2 sentences, because that's all the paraprofessional could get out of Gena within that time frame.
Yeah.
Or maybe the paraprofessional is doing, like, kind of suggesting, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? And that's not Jena's mind, because we've seen it before. We're like, that's not Jena's personality.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the AI feature is amazing for that, because she's able to, you just get the concepts in there, put it in there, and it will help you frame it. It gives her all those options to choose from.
Yes.
So it helps a great.
So just to, for our listeners' sake, I observed Gena at high school, 9th grade last year. So we're in summer. So she's starting 10th grade now. And she was in general ed, algebra. She was in robotics. She was in mostly general education courses, I think history and science. But it was in English special ed for this very reason, because the writing takes so much longer, and it was just impossible to have her do general ed English and keep up with the work. Is that right?
Yeah, it's just, it was extremely hard for her to keep up with the pace. Actually, beginning of that year, we tried putting her, because the year before, when she was in junior high, she was in resource class, a SPED class for English and for math, and she tested out of math. So we put her back into gen ed math. And then for English, we felt like she could have been doing more than what they were doing. Yeah. So we moved her into general ed, but it was just so fast paced.
Yeah.
That we thought, you know what, maybe we should move her back into SPED. And she had an amazing SPED teacher. Amy is amazing with her. So we moved her into there so that she can get back on task instead of getting stressed out with the pace of class.
Right. And so when we came to the table with the district, meaning the special ed teacher, who is amazing, her paraeducators, and you all, what my approach was to talk about the present levels of performance. So the present level of performance in the IEP is to say, how is she currently doing writing? And a lot of the writing was the paraeducator, we have to write about something. I think we were talking about Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah.
And it was like, we have to write about what we think about his writing. And so then I said, well, how is she doing that? And it was like, well, I give her 3 choices. Do you think he's this, or he's this, or none of the above? It was kind of where it was at. And even none of the above wasn't intuitive. It wasn't always. So she was very much dependent on the knowledge of the paraeducator, the person providing the choices, or they were saying, do you want to write about this? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes or no? Because they're still, even in a resource room, still having 53 minutes or whatever the periods, to create written work. And so when we wrote up the present levels of performance currently look like this, and that is already establishing that the current level of performance is very much what we would call a co-authorship, where she is writing something with someone.
Yes.
But your concern, and you've already voiced it here, is that a written work would come back and be like, she would never say that. And so we've lost voice, even though we've given her choice.
Yeah, and the paraprofessionals, they're doing the best they can.
Of course. And she has great paraeducators. I mean, college educated paraeducators that know a lot about a lot of things. Her biology paraeducator was a pre-med student. Like she has incredible paraeducators. Even then, it's still, you noticed there was choice there, but maybe not her voice. And so we decided, how is it then different that if a large language sample is coming up with choices than if the paraeducator is, because the paraeducator is limited to what they know about the topic. The
Mhm.
large language sample, which is the AI, is pulling
Yeah.
from the internet.
Yeah.
So there was an equitability, first of all, because others get to pull from the internet. The internet's not considered AI.
Hmm.
So they get to pull facts and things from the internet to do their writing. So first of all, there was an inequitability on that she wasn't allowed to use a feature that because it was called AI that is actually just looking at the large language sample, the meaning all the information we have about Edgar Allan Poe, and what rings true? What are the things about him that you would like to write about? And so we were able to say in the present levels of performance that she's currently choosing from other people's generated thought. So the next step up is to create writing from the large language sample of thought, and she's not limited to the knowledge of the paraeducator. Or if she had homework, she's not limited to your knowledge of a topic she's supposed to
Yeah,
write.
which at this state is we're lost.
Well, you know what? I mean, especially, I mean, I think any parent of a teenager is saying, hey, it's harder and harder to help my child write about things because it's been a long time since we've taken it, or they've changed the textbook since we read about that.
Yeah, and I don't sit around reading Edgar Allan Poe. No
No,
offense, but
no, no. But in that particular, I like that you brought that up though, because if you remember right, there was a great sentence, and she was given four sentences about Edgar Allan Poe's writing, and she picked one that was mostly what she was thinking.
yes.
We did. We guided her, like, think about what you think about when you think about his poems. And she had
Mhm.
like a lot of poems already and everything. And she's like, and I'm like, do you got it? Do you got it in your head what you wanted to talk about? And she's like, yeah. And then she said, and then one of the words in the sentence was macabre,
Macabre.
macabre.
Hmm.
And I read it macabre because that's how it said, that's how it came out. And I looked at around the room and I said, who knows what macabre means? I didn't even put it on Gena. I just said, who knows
Yeah,
what macabre means? And the English teacher and you were the only ones that even knew what
yeah,
the word meant. So I'm 100%, we leave the word macabre in there. And it's a red flag that my 15-year-old student did not probably come up with that word. And
yeah,
we should not be having her use a word that she's never heard of.
yes.
So one of the AI features it was to find similar words, and it came up with like six other words.
Hmm.
It was such a learning opportunity to go, what does macabre mean? And which one of those words would you like to replace that sounds like more matching what you had? And I think she picked ghastly or something because
Yeah.
it was a mix between like shock and awe and ghost, like
Hmm.
dark or something.
Yeah.
And it was perfect because that word was more matching her authentic thought,
Yep.
something more that she would say, but also not a word in her device.
Yeah. And you know, another thing that I like about that is she doesn't always have the same paraprofessional. So let's say she starts a writing project with one of them. And if you're going off of the knowledge of that one, and then say that one's out for a week because she's sick or her kids are sick.
Yeah.
And then you have another one that doesn't really work with Gena as often or just thinks differently.
Yeah.
You can see that, okay, this person started off writing this and then it completely changes.
Right.
So the fact that it's pulling from the same source
Yes.
every time with the same person directing it, Gena,
Yes.
it makes it cohesive throughout the whole thing.
I love that idea, Josh. I love how you said it all. And we've had a lot of fun with it recently, telling it. So the latest writing assignment we were working on was she's actually writing about a special item from her summer to another peer. And so we changed the prompt in the AI to be teenage. Do you
Yeah.
remember this?
Yeah.
And so you said something like, "Oh, it was awesome." Are you trying to say awesome? And
Uh-huh.
I was like, okay, let's throw in awesome and do similar words for
Yeah.
a 15-year-old girl or whatever. And I think it came up with like lit, or it came up with a whole bunch of
Yeah.
them. some of them we knew and some of them we didn't even know
Yeah,
these
I don't know them
right? Because
all.
we've like aged out of it, right?
Yeah,
But she loved it.
she did, and she still loves it. She,
Yes.
and I love that we could toggle back and forth. That you fix that to where she's not going to use that on her writing assignments,
Yes.
but in socialization, man.
Yes. In the field of socializing where you could just put in like, hi, how are you? Click, give me
Uh,
choices that a 15-year-old get. It's like, sup,
yeah.
how's it going? Whatever. There were more just socially acceptable phrases, and you can't stay up well on it. Meaning you could take all those and add all those to her device, but then
Uh,
you're just chasing the
yeah.
the we're always programming new things in her device. And as it is, she's an eye gaze user and real estate, meaning just where we put all those buttons become challenging. So having that just generate on the fly has made it so much fun.
Oh man, you have no idea that right there. How much that has helped her old eye gaze device, which we used it switch accessible to. I used to type in, I used to do all the programming for that.
Yeah.
And I used to program like I would spend entire evenings just programming in, keep trying to keep up
Yeah.
with the way her friends are talking
Yes.
and putting those things in there because, I mean, devices are awesome, but if they don't, sometimes it's already awkward enough for other kids to approach Gena.
Yeah.
Especially as she gets older for some reason.
Yeah.
But making the vocabulary within there age appropriate and normal makes Gena more approachable and interesting. Kids are like, what did your device just say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in order to even know what to pre-program in her device, you have to get there somehow, right?
Yeah. And listening to
another
teenager talk for hours. So tiring. I'm old. I can't keep up with that.
No. So I think that we have we bridged the gap. We were able to kind of write the present levels of performance. And once we got to, so this would what the IEP goals would look like. They would look like that, given a field of, and it wasn't that different from the IEP already. It was given a field of 3, she'll choose this, given a field of options for vocabulary, she'll do this. So there was idea generation, vocabulary growth, and sentence structure where she had choice around it, but now it's just generated by something that matches her what the content areas that she's taking, not the matching the para educator's knowledge of the content. And I think that was critical. And so it was just such a win. I'm excited to go with the team further this year and see where we can go from here. But I think it's brought a lot of life to her and it's brought a lot of interest back in her communication device because she's not just doing, wants and needs. I want this, I need that. There's a lot of opportunity for social language now.
Yeah. And also, like that being said, you getting back into school, she has new pairs this year. So that's another thing, like her pairs change so often because it's not the highest paying position.
Sure.
So these kids, especially if they're like educated, they're doing this for the time being.
Yes.
And they move on to something else. And this year you're gonna enjoy meeting her pairs this year. You already met Peyton.
Yeah.
But Taylor sounds just like Gena's device, the AI part.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So the other thing is that, she has such potential for kind of the sky's the limit for this girl.
Yeah.
And we need to be sure that we are moving her forward. And I do feel like, and one thing that you and I have discussed a little bit about is it doesn't replace you, the paraeducator or the speech therapist, because really it just now what we've found is the training of the communication partner is higher.
Yeah.
They need to know how to prompt her, how to wait for her responses, how to have her tell you all the components that she wants in that sentence.
Mhm.
And I mean, and saying, tell me more, and I think I need more information. I think I need more information. And giving her the time to really weigh in on what she has to say so that we honor the voice of her. And I think that's the critical piece about this too, is a lot of people are like, well, if AI is doing it, then do we even need paraeducators? And it's like,
Oh yeah.
it's a different role. They are prompting her and scaffolding still, and there's still a hierarchy there of what
Mhm.
do we need from Gena. And then critical thinking from Jenna's part has to be encouraged on what's the differences between these four sentences or these four words or whatever number of choices that the large language model AI is providing so that she can learn more vocabulary. Because now, by the way, we all know what macabre is,
Yeah.
which is pretty
Yeah.
exciting.
I think what it does, because for years since Jen has been in school, one of the main jobs, and we stress this to the paraprofessionals, is you are Jenna's voice.
Mm-hmm.
But now, instead of the paraprofessionals, once Jenna gets this down thoroughly,
Mm-hmm.
instead of the paraprofessionals being Jenna's voice solely, they switch more into the role of supporting Jenna's voice.
Yes.
So they're there to help her have a voice instead of being her voice.
I love that distinction. That's perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time, Josh. This was a wonderful conversation, and I love for our listeners to hear it straight from parents. So this was great. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, I loved that interview with Jenna's dad, Josh.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, what a great guy.
Mhm.
And I got a little
Oh,
teary there.
wonderful family.
Yeah, I can tell. I got a little teary there at the end when he was talking about switching from you are Jenna's voice to the paras, right? To you're supporting her voice. And isn't that exactly what we want to be doing, is supporting her? And
Yes.
that whole conversation about the paraeducator's role, like how, I mean, both of you were just emphasizing how critical paraeducators are. But yet with AI, it's shifting to now you're training on how to use the AI, how to implement this to make language faster and make it more personalized. Still really important to have them. And but that training is shifting. It's so fascinating.
Well, and this was my first how do we get this in the IEP?
Yeah.
And I feel like some people are probably there. Practitioners are probably there going, okay, I see all this, I hear all this, let's go. How do I get it in the IEP? And I
Yeah.
think the trick really is looking at what is the present level of performance?
Mm-hmm.
What are they doing right now?
Mm-hmm.
And how does and let's acknowledge that right now they're already co-authoring a lot of their written work in order to complete work in time.
Right.
And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Our general ed students are also co-authoring.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. It's not cheating to be co-authoring. If
Mm-hmm.
you are using the internet for information, you're co-authoring. If you are asking your parents, if you're sitting down with friends at a table and you're all talking about the ideas as you're writing something,
Yeah.
you're co-authoring. It's okay.
So
And so I think that that's the piece that's the hurdle we need to be
yeah.
be ready to jump.
Yeah, I loved that he brought that up, that you guys talked about that, because that is the case. That I mean, I've heard from school districts who said we have a no AI situation going on, which
Mhm.
and others are like, yes, we embrace it. Doesn't matter. So wherever you're at,
Yes.
that was really fascinating. So what did what did you guys end up doing? Did you mention AI in the present level specifically?
So we mentioned that she could use a large language model.
Mm-hmm.
That's LLM is what's kind of one of the acronyms in the AI to generate a choice of a list of ideas.
Right. Okay.
Or generate a list of vocabulary ideas, or generate a list of a variety of sentence structures.
Mm-hmm.
So those were the things. It was ideas and synonyms and sentence structure,
Mm-hmm.
because those are the three areas in writing that they want her to be aware of and be
Right.
learning about. And so that is how we're prompting
Okay.
the AI at this point. So large language model is kind of one of those where basically, if we're using the paraeducator's language knowledge, then it's a small language model, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Difference, is it a
Same
small
with
language
parent.
model?
Yeah.
Or is it a large language model?
Mm-hmm.
And once all that was framed, I asked the teacher, I was like, so do you have to, run this up the flagpole? And she's like, well, no, because it's all there in the present level of performance. Like
Cool.
you can't deny
Yeah.
any of
Right.
this access
And
to.
yeah, that's where she's at. You've clearly described it. And then, so
Yes.
she was on board. Like, yeah, this totally makes sense.
Yes. We're
Yeah.
already having ideas generated by people other than Gena.
Yeah. The other thing that stood out was, so she can hang in general ed. She's got the
Mhm.
concept, she's smart, she's on board with conversations happening,
Mhm.
but speed and like efficiency wise, she needed the special ed classroom to be able
Yeah.
to do the expressive piece, right? Like to get her
Yes.
thoughts out and on paper. And so I thought that was so interesting about thinking about that and how AI might help students accelerate their learning in gen ed.
So with the change in the IEP, she is not in general ed. She's not in special ed language now.
Yeah.
So that was spring. We changed that. Now she doesn't get pulled out for any class. And she's in robotics, and she writes code for robotics with her eye gaze device and clicks and drags and does all the things.
That's cool.
I mean, she's in all general ed courses.
Mhm.
And so it's one of those things where, again, we're talking about the rate, the speed is such a
Right.
big, and the social language is super motivating for her as well, because the more we are included in general population, the more the social language becomes the highest priority.
Yeah.
I think that social language is the highest priority for most people, and certainly for most teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
Then when you are included in the conversations, which some of them haven't been very much included in conversation
Right.
until now,
Right.
they are the most motivated to use their device now that they have opportunities to talk to same age peers in the general ed population. And so it's really critical that they have those rate enhancement features.
So true. And like not relying on dad to come up with words besides awesome, right? It's like, I don't
We're
know.
not that
And
cool.
I love that because, I mean, I'm thinking about my own daughter who started high school this fall.
Okay.
And just to be included in and think about all the social interactions that are going on in this huge school, and you're trying to find your people and like, do I talk to, it's like, I just love how that just brings her up in a little bit in as far as like her confidence. I've got some of the words that I might want to use because it's hard. High school is it's hard. So I love the possibilities that AI gives her for that social piece.
For sure. I love that we got it in the IEP even after the districts had said no, because it was like, hold on, let's look at the purpose of the IEP, how we come up with goals at all, and the power of actually defining what is the present level of her performance.
Yeah, I think that's going to be helpful for others to hear about.
This podcast is produced by the Special Education Technology Center, administered by Central Washington University, and funded in part by OSPI. However, the content does not necessarily represent the policy of CWU and OSPI, and you should not assume endorsement by the state government.